Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this little mod update for Creativerse. Straight away you'll see that something new on screen. This is just a little reminder when you first log in to the pack that you will need either an MC Patcher or Optifine to get the most out of the pack. The reason being is there's a lot of connected textures and natural textures etc. that rely on an MC Patcher or Optifine for it to work. So this will only ever show once, but it's just a reminder. If you click here, it will take you straight to the download page for Optifine, and then all you've got to do is drop it into your mods folder. Sadly, I can't include Optifine due to licensing, which is why I had to put this little notice in, but it'll only show once. So once you've done that, you'll never have to look at it again. Moving on, I've made a few changes to the Create New World. You'll see now that it's straight away set to creative and it's locked because after all this is meant to be a creative pack, there's no point in survival. So now that's been locked. World type still set to realistic. Cheats on, can't turn that off because a lot of things in this pack work on commands. It makes no sense to turn them off. Bonus chests also locked off because, well, you don't need that. And generate structures defaults to off, but you can turn it on if you want to. But I think that if you have a village that spawns in a nice place that you wanted to build, it kind of gets in the way. Basically what I've done is allowed you to just click New World and just give it a name and generate, you're done. You don't have to change any other settings unless you really want to. Okay, so let's move on into a world for some more new stuff. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. There we go. One thing I did forget to do was update dynamic surroundings. Okay, so straight away you can see a new feature here. Hovering over any block will give you this nice big render on the side there. The reason I did this is because a lot of items and blocks that were appearing in here were really small, especially if you're on a large resolution or a big monitor, or you have your GUI set to small, really hard to see. So being able to just zoom in on the smaller items like this kind of lets you see. I mean, actually just from having this, I've actually discovered new things I didn't know existed. Like in here on screen right now, there's actually a tree stump right there. Didn't even know it existed. So that is one little item. If you don't like it, you can just hit, as it says there on the side, Shift Z, and that will get rid of it if you don't want it. Moving on, we also now have light air, and what this basically allows you to do is have an invisible light source. So if I just quickly jump on over to midnight and I just place it right here, you can see there's an invisible light source. The only way to get rid of it is to either cover it up. You can't break it, you'll just punch straight through it, as you can see. But if you do want to get rid of it, just use this dark bomb, stand in the general vicinity, click, and there they go. You might get the odd little rendering there, as you can see, but just click again, it'll disappear. And there is one for every different light source. So let's say we wanted it to be, let's say 7, and there you are. You can see that very faint little light source. It's good for lighting up areas where you don't want to have more than one visible source, like torches all over a cave, etc. So that's a nice little addition. Okay, something else that was added was a favourites tab. So if you've been watching my Let's Play, you know I've been using these particular items that I'm grabbing now quite a lot at the moment. And that one, now these I use a lot. If we scroll on over to here, we have a new favourites tab. Now, I've got to remember what shortcut key I actually set. There we are. So once you're on this favourite tab and you have the items you use a lot, simply hover over it, hold Alt, press F, and that will add them to the favourites tab. So now whenever I'm building, they're all coming along, and I want my favourites, I'll just grab them from my favourites tab. If you want to remove them, same again, Alt, F, and they're gone. Also pretty cool. Right, let's move on back to daytime. Okay, I've also added, let's see what block I want. I think it was under here. I don't know, let's just go with that wooden platform I use all the time. I've also added a preview. So if you hold shift, it will give you a block placement preview. And as you can see, it rotates and it'll show exactly where things will go. And it will also show you any connecting areas as such. So you just hold shift and that will appear. So that's also another pretty cool little thing. Let's have a look through here. I believe there is also a block in here. Where is it? Might be easier just to search it. If we search hex, let's have a look. If we place this block down, takes a couple. There we are. If we right click these, you can actually set them to a bright solid colour. There we are. You might be wondering, why would I need this? Well, I added this because there's been a few times where I've wanted to build something and just have a plain pure white background behind it, so that when I get into image editing to make thumbnails, I can completely remove the background easily. I could probably just use the Magic Wand tool in something like GIMP or Photoshop. Because it's all the same colour, I could just completely remove the background around whatever it is I built. It could be a house and I'm trying to make a thumbnail out of it. If I just place that there, for instance, at least now if I took a picture here, I could very easily just remove that background behind it. So that was just a feature I knew I could use. I don't know if anyone else can. But if you want to do a 3D render of the block, I did add one more thing. I've got to remember the command for it now. Let me just grab, for instance, crafting table, and I do believe I set it to, what did I set it to? Let me just remind myself. This is the one that I couldn't remember. Prior, Luminel's prior. That was it. It's actually PageUp. So if I just hover over that and hit PageUp, you'll see it says successfully rendered to renders and whatever that is. And that will basically give you a small 3D render of that block in an image format. I will put what I just rendered on screen right now during editing. And I added this so that when you make build tutorials and you want to give, like, for example, a block count of how much material you're going to need to build the building that you're building, you have these renders that you can then use during video editing to sort of put on the side of the screen with the numbers, kind of like how I'm showing right now, if I remember to do it. So that was also added. And one last thing, under tools, there is a paintbrush. And if we just go up into the sky, I'm not actually going to render one in because I haven't got a picture ready. But basically, if you just come up into the sky real quick, and if you right click, it doesn't matter how far away you are, but if you right click on the side of a block, you can enter a web address, enter the scale. I recommend starting small just in case, because I did one earlier as a test and it was massive. And you can set to all blocks or wall only. Basically what that'll do is it'll pull the image from the URL you've entered, and it will draw or basically recreate that pixel art in blocks, and it is 1 pixel on your image is a block in Minecraft. So as you can imagine, if you've got a 1024 by 1024 image, that's going to be 1024 blocks by 1024 blocks. So you might want to go and half that and mess around with ratios. If you do it from the top of the block, you'll end up with a big flat horizontal plane. If you do it from the side of the block, the image will render in like a big vertical plane. So there are now pixel tools. There are also a bunch of other smaller commands, but there's a lot to go through. But what I want to do in the next version is I'm going to include an in-game book which will list all the commands and what they do, just for convenience. That way you don't have to tab out and go looking on the individual wikis for the individual mods. So that will be coming up. But that's it for the small update, guys. Just a few little extra tools that I knew I could use, so I thought I'd throw them in. They're certainly going to be useful for me. So this should be available by the time the video goes out. So just go on to Curse and update to 1.0.1 and you are good to go. Anyway guys, as always, thanks for supporting the videos and such and watching, etc. Thank you for joining me, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.